Hello, everyone. I'm Ashley, your host of Life After an Ego Death. And today's very special guest is recording from Bali, Mel M Rubin. Nice to have you.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited and so giddy, even though the sun hasn't even come up here, but I am so ready to go. And I just can't wait to see what would you like to share with everyone about your spiritual journey?
Oh, wow. Gosh, that is a loaded question. What would I like to share about my spiritual journey? It's been it's been a journey of unraveling,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a journey that I did not plan at all. It came when I was ready,
Mm-hmm.
and I also wasn't ready.
I can agree with this for me too.
Oh, it's so interesting. It's so interesting. So, yeah, I mean, let's start from the start. My journey started when I chose to go after the earthly things and the things that started to truly matter to me.
Mm-hmm.
Or let's change that. When I realized what truly mattered to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in a really desperate place financially, and I came across a business opportunity that would promise me freedom through the creation of more money. And who doesn't want more freedom? Who doesn't want more money?
Mm-hmm.
And I jumped into it, and the first two books that I read on my personal development journey were about wealth consciousness and the laws of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And at this time, I was agnostic. I was atheist for years, and then I got to a point where I said to myself, well, there's obviously a grander power. I just don't know what it is. And to be honest with you, I don't care. That was the kind of mindset I had back then. I didn't care who the creator was. I didn't care what I was putting into my body. I didn't care what I was consuming. I didn't care that we were being surveillanced. I didn't care that we were being controlled. I just didn't care. And when I started learning about the power of my mind and the laws of the universe and how much power I had within myself to consciously create my reality, that's when I started to care because
Mm-hmm.
I started to feel empowered. And thinking back at it, I didn't care because I didn't feel empowered to change anything. So that would
Mm-hmm.
make sense why I didn't care, because if you don't feel like you can make a difference, then what's the point? Just have a good time. And that's what I did. So, yeah, that started in 2017. And back then I was still living in London. And if you haven't been to London, the energies are pretty heavy. And
Mm-hmm.
I was in Greater London, so I wasn't right in the thick of it. I was close enough to the city that I could get in, but far enough out that I could go to the countryside, which was really beautiful. And it was still heavy. I think or at the time, there was 11 million people living in London. So you can imagine, especially where their vibrational frequency is operating at a low level.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say low level, I don't mean anything kind of untoward or judgmental about it. I'm just talking from the frequency scale, right? You've got lower level frequencies and higher level frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
So they're vibrating. Typically, if you're looking at the map of consciousness, and if people don't know about the map of consciousness, it's created by David R. Hawkins, I believe. But essentially, 85% of the population are vibrating lower than 200 on the consciousness scale of up to 1,000. So the whole point of this spiritual journey, I have experienced for myself and also done my research on, is essentially raising our frequency and raising our consciousness. And typically, the majority of people in the West are vibrating lower than 200. And this is where I was living. I was living in London, an unhealthy and sick and toxic and traumatized society. And because of that, and because of my upbringing, I was also operating at that level, even when my mind had been open to the powers that I had for myself in the creation of my reality. So my spiritual awakening started in 2017. However, I'm such a sensitive being. If you know anything about the human design, I'm a reflector. So all of my centers are open. And the environment that I live in, or any environments that I put myself in, it's very important for me to be in environments that are uplifting and positive and supportive, more so than other people in the population, should we say, because in human design, there's fixed centers. And when they're fixed, you can't change them. However, all of my centers are open. So the relationships that I'm in and the community and the surroundings and the society that I'm in really affect me and my energy.
Mm-hmm.
So being in London, it as much as yes, I was positive and I was empowered and I was excited for my future because finally I had a uh, a light at the end of the very dark tunnel that I found myself in. And to give you context, when I started, I was depressed and I was anxious and I was numbing myself and self-medicating with drink and drugs and food, literally binging on drink and drugs and getting out of my face to the point where Monday would come, and bear in mind I started on Friday. Monday would come and I didn't go to work because I was still so fucked up from the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in a very dark place in that sense, and I went through years of strengthening myself, my mind, my body, and my soul through unraveling what wasn't me, by still living in this sick society.
Mm-hmm.
And I say all of this without judgment to the people because it's not our fault, you know, it wasn't my fault. It's not anyone's fault where they're born and their environment. However, when we realize that we are in a place that's not conducive to our highest timeline, our grander mission, our purpose, whether or not we know what that is, it's our responsibility to shift things, which is what I was doing. I was shifting things to the point where I was using all of the resources that I had, and I didn't start with a silver spoon. I started in a very bad place, like I mentioned. And so I was going through this unraveling, and I was working with my mind and my body and my energy and my frequency. And I had this business, and because the environment that I was in, and this has all been a part of my process as well, especially with learning about the how important environments are specifically to me and what works and what doesn't. If I'm in an unaligned environment, it really doesn't work for me. It keeps me, it holds me back. It's like the majority
Mm-hmm.
really, crabs in a bucket, you know, you try to rise out and then the crabs are trying to pull you back into the bucket.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to learning about my frequency, so I was learning all of this still living in London, and everything was moving and things were expanding. I was getting better, and the way that I felt about life was getting better, and I was moving in my business and doing everything right. However, things weren't moving in the way that I desired in my business because of the environment that I was in. So I I was still doing the work, the energetic work, the mind work, the frequency work, the faith, the trust, the surrender, even before those words became popularized within our spiritual community. Oh, just surrender to the process. Just, raise your vibe and all of that stuff. I was doing it through what I was learning without actually attaching these sayings to it, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And I was committed to getting better, and I received a shock redundancy out of nowhere to support me on my spiritual path and my spiritual journey and support me on my mission. And then when that ran out and things still weren't going in the way that I consciously thought that they would, and was seeing people within my wider business community in their success, then a surprise inheritance came from my aunt. And this was proof that this work works, the energetics, the frequency, the mind, the body, doing all of this detoxification and this clearing was proof that we're just energetic beings and
Mm-hmm.
like attracts like. And our external reality simply reflects our internal reality. And even though it may not consciously work out in the way that we think it will, it
Mm-hmm.
always works out because we're always supported by the Most High, the
Mm-hmm.
universe, the mystic law, source, infinite intelligence. However you connect to it as an individual, whatever it is, find resonance and follow your own heart and soul and path because it works.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, when I received my inheritance, I actually restarted my business because of the community that I was with. It didn't align. The model that I'm expanding on, it's a network model. So the people that we work with are very important. And I didn't listen to my intuition right at the very start. And this was a huge part of my spiritual journey as well, was really learning to listen to my intuition. And when my body was telling me, no, don't do this, because I'm a visionary. If I see it in my mind, I have a very strong mind. If I see it in
Mm-hmm.
my mind, I'm like, I can be it, I can do it, I can have it. And
Mm-hmm.
through the process, like I said previously, I've ultimately learned that our environment is very key to it. So through this inheritance, I restarted my business and I joined a community that I was aligned with, and then my business blew up because I was in alignment with myself, my mission, my power, and the community that I was now with.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I chose to move to Bali because my soul called me to Bali. And at the time, it wasn't a choice to move to Bali. I was going to Bali for uh, spiritual growth and ascension and spiritual healing. I didn't feel lost. A lot of people come here because they feel lost and they're trying to find themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I, I, I didn't feel lost at all. I knew my journey. I knew my path. I knew where I was going and what I was doing. I just felt intuitively called that Mama Bali would give me the medicine that I needed to effectively lead this mission and movement that I'm leading in the way that I came here to. So I got here, it was actually 2 days ago, March 17th, 2020. And this was actually 2 days before the borders shut and the global shit show happened. So I truly believe that I was called here by my soul and my angels and my guides and the Most High to essentially protect me from what was
Mm-hmm.
going on in London and in the West. And I only planned to be here for 4 months. And yeah, like I said, the borders shut, everyone left. And I pretty much had the island to myself, bar some expats and the locals that were living here. So I had so much space. And being a reflector, this was really important for me to really get to know myself and decondition myself away from London. And that's been a really huge part of my spiritual journey is the deconditioning, is coming back to who I truly am, away from the masks, away from the armor, away from the ego. And the ego is amazing. We wouldn't be who we are if it wasn't for the ego.
Mm-hmm.
However, there are shadow aspects of the ego that we really must move through and integrate and essentially become friends with. We don't want to kill the ego. We want to become friends with the ego. And the inner child within us is attached to the ego because the ego only wants to protect us. And
Mm-hmm.
it wants to protect the inner child that was wounded as we were growing up in various different ways from various different people. So this has been a huge part of my journey, is really getting to know myself on a very, very deep level when it comes to my wounds, my inner child, my frequency, and the different stories that come up, and my shadow as well,
Mm-hmm.
because we have so much light within us. This is why we're called for better. This is why we're called for more. This is why we feel the power within us. And with such great light, we have such great shadow. We have such great darkness. And this is the whole part of the process, is really diving deep into the depths of our shadows so we
Mm-hmm.
can alchemize and transmute that into the light.
Mm-hmm.
So this is essentially the journey that I've been on in every area. I got to Bali. I didn't know anyone. I came and I knew some people from my business community, about five, six people. And I stayed with them for 2.5 weeks. And at the time, I was doing a lot of meditation and connecting to my starseed family. And then I felt energetic shifts from the people that were in my old community, because my power can be very intense. My energy can be very intense for people that are not ready to look in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And the essence of my design as a 5-1 reflector in the human design is to amplify and reflect my environment and my surroundings. And to when I'm really purely in my power and my light, I cast shadows on people. And for people that are aware of this path and this work, it's great medicine for them, because they
Mm-hmm.
get to really look at themselves through the mirror that I hold up.
Mm-hmm.
And for people that are not aware, it can be very confronting, and yeah, it's not very nice for them and also not very nice for me. So I was feeling the projections, even though people weren't saying anything. I'm very in tune with energy, and I was feeling that. So I was doing all of this meditation, and then 2.5 weeks in, I woke up and my soul said, you need to go to Ubud. And Ubud is in the jungle. I've always been a sea kind of person. And I'm like, what? Really? And I was looking at the pictures, and then my body lit up with glitter. So this was my first real kind of feeling of alignment when it came to feeling the energy in my body and the glitter that I felt, in
Mm-hmm.
respects to you're on the right path, you're in tune. And essentially, three. I put the signal out to go to Ubud. I had a video call with a woman, and then 3 days after that call, I went to go and view the place, and I took the place and ended up staying in a villa community. And everything else just slot into place because I listened to my body and my soul and followed that call.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, you know how it is. It's like we go in flow when we're following the call, even when it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
make sense, even when we're scared, it falls into place. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I went to Ubud and my business was going great, and I was catapulted into leadership because my business was growing so fast. And I came here to lead in the revolution. I'm a New Earth leader that's here to lead other New Earth leaders into the creation of the New Earth, in the
Mm-hmm.
creation of our own respective heaven on earth, plural, our own respective heavens on earth, and
Mm-hmm.
also a, collective heaven on earth together. So I went through this process of a newly initiated New Earth leader who didn't even know she was a New Earth leader. I went through this process of learning how to lead effectively, and I didn't have a heart-centered leader above me to support me. My community, they weren't on the spiritual awakening, and they were still mainly in the throes of the UK, and going through all of the craziness of the global shit show. And I'm over here in Bali living my dream life because I've
Mm-hmm.
been doing the work for years prior, and I'm just having the time of my life, and also going deep into the depths of the shadow work with support of the energy of Mama Bali. So it made it easier for me because I had the sun and the nature and all of the good stuff that supports our healing and our evolution spiritually. And yeah, again, I experienced a lot of shadow from people in both my organization and also my community. So I went through various different lessons when it came to my leadership and my coaching and my mentorship, and the way that I was able to hold myself in grace and conviction and love and kindness. And I wasn't perfect at the start because, of course, I was deconditioning myself from various different toxic and trauma induced reactions and ways of being and doing. And through that, I chose to look in the mirror. And
Mm-hmm.
I I don't even think I even read it in a book. I don't really remember. Like, I was learning about projections and stuff. However, it felt very intuitive for me to just look in the mirror and ask myself, why does this keep happening to me? Because it's, we have patterns going on in life. And growing up, when I was younger, I'd get bullied and I'd be really great friends with people. And then someone else would come in the mix. And then that someone else would turn the other person against me. And then I'd get bullied and ostracized. And it was very traumatic. And that happened to me a fair few times going through my life. And then it was happening to me again in my organization. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why does this keep happening to me? Because it's different people. I'm the common denominator here. So it's something to do with me. So I
Hmm.
looked in the mirror with my organization then, and also with uh, my last emotionally abusive and toxic narcissistic experience in 2020. And I asked myself, what is it about me that is allowing this or attracting this? Not from a place of blame. I never blamed myself. I just looked at the role that I played in each dynamic that was causing disharmony and discordance within my life and my being. And
Hmm.
I took ownership of everything, of how I was abandoning myself, of where I was overgiving, of where I was people pleasing, of where I didn't have boundaries, of where I was communicating in an aggressive way, of where I was toxic in any which way. And I held my hands up and I took ownership and I did everything that I could to learn how to become better, to learn how to shed all of these toxic and unhealthy ways of being so I could ultimately continue to raise my frequency.
Hmm.
So this has been my journey quite literally, like even deeper since 2020, but it started in 2017 just in a more maybe my frequency.
Oh,
Hello, we're back.
you were back,
Hello.
guys.
There we go. There we go. My frequency is cut off the recording. How funny.
Hmm.
Um, So yeah, so when I got to Bali, I started to really listen to my intuition and drop. It's so funny how that cut out as well, because when I was speaking, I could really feel my heart radiating
Hmm.
and then the call cut. I love it so much.
Yeah, I've
So
crashed Zoom too by really feeling it and commanding it, saying what really is resonating in my heart, and then it crashes right then too.
amazing. I love it. This is how powerful we are as well.
Hmm.
When we're fully lit up and when we're fully activated, especially from our heart center, this is our power. We can crash technology and we can quite literally shift timelines and quantum leap. And this is the importance of really learning how to listen to our intuition and drop into our bodies and drop into our heart and let the ego step aside for our true essence to come through. So yeah, when I got to Bali, it was the intuition and it was the dropping into my body, and I was just listening. I was just listening to myself and what I needed and learning how to let go of emotions and feeling and really being true to myself in that sense, even when it didn't make sense, and this I was doing all of this work before this work became widely accepted and widely known. And I didn't even have funds to have a coach or to be supported in the ways that I needed, because apparently my soul chose the route of learning how to do it on her own, which has been so very hard, but also magical at the same time because I've really been able to learn my power in that sense. And with that being said, this is why I've created everything that I have, because of how hard it's been. And I'm so grateful for the strength of my mind and my inner knowing of whatever I can see, I can be, I can do, I can have. And I've continued to move and I've continued to groove, even when the majority of people would have given up. There's been so many times throughout my journey when I could have given up. And I was, even right now, I'm currently being pushed to my edge, and life is also very magical at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really leaning into and trusting on that frequency that everything's going to be okay. And yeah, I feel like I've gone on a tangent, and I know I was talking about London and being led by my mind and heavy masculine and then coming to Bali, but I don't really know where to go from here. It's just been an unraveling. Long answer to your question. It's been an unraveling and an unraveling and unraveling of everything that I thought that I was. I'm
Mm-hmm.
really coming back to everything that I truly am and everything that I came here to be, aside from the society and the familial expectations, and also uh, having waded through and alchemized and transmuted all of the ancestral
Mm-hmm.
traumas that I've inherited as well. And I still move through it. This is a lifelong journey, which keeps this journey so exciting because no
Mm-hmm.
one day is the same. When I used to work for the bank, it was wake up, just fall out of bed because I didn't want to go to work, have a quick shower, quickly eat my food, have a coffee, and then get on the commute an hour to the bank. And then I'd commute back, and then I'd watch Netflix and stuff my face with food that wasn't good for me, and then go to sleep really late and then repeat. That was my day every day until the weekend came, and then I'd just get wasted. And since I've started this journey, it's been a new day every day, a wonderful day every day. Some days I'm feeling fucking 10, 15 different feelings.
Mm-hmm.
It's like people would call people that that don't understand this journey would call me crazy, but it's just a part of the journey, and this is what makes it fun. And it
Mm-hmm.
makes me feel alive in every way. I feel so alive. I feel so
Mm-hmm.
buzzed. I feel like I'm on drugs and I haven't even taken drugs because of how
Mm-hmm.
excited and grateful I am for life and where it's going and what's being created through this continual unraveling.
Mm-hmm.
It's been phenomenal.
Yeah. What a joy to hear you share your story. Is so inspirational. And everything that you said, I have gone through too. And it's really amazing. That's part of the spiritual journey. All of us have the same type of things that we go through personally inside of us. And we only have a few minutes left. So just going to touch on, I'm just going to touch on two things. When it was 2020 and right before the lockdown, I also had a call, an urgency where I had to leave my situation. And I was in a same situation as you, like really toxic, narcissistic, abusive. Um, yeah. And I didn't know why I had to leave, but I packed up my stuff and left. And then lockdown happened. I'm like, thank God I got saved. Because if I didn't know where I would be because in that situation I was in, um, I almost got really, really hurt, and could have gotten killed. And so I'm glad that it didn't happen. And that was pretty crazy. And then another thing I want to mention is the level of consciousness chart to just talk about it with the readers is like in the third dimension, we operate in fear. And when you're talking about the like under 200 frequency, that energetic frequency, that is existing in anger, desire, fear, grief, apathy, guilt, shame, and death. That is the purgatory and hell. That's the location if you're feeling that. And to operate in a higher level of consciousness, you have to be in love, which is the fourth dimension and up. And that's when you experience the in between, paradise and heaven on earth. Heaven on earth is a frequency. And when you start experiencing over 200, so that's courage, neutrality, willingness, acceptance. When you get to 400, that's inner light and reason. That's the inner wisdom, the inner love. That's 500. And then once you get higher, oneness and joy and presence and peace, that's 600. And once you get to the I am presence, that's 700, awareness, non-duality. And when you get to enlightenment, that's divine grace, love, the void. Full consciousness is the 12th dimension. I mean, it's really, that's how many dimensions that we have as I know. Of course, I mean, that's where the angels operate, that 12th dimension. So I just wanted to share what heaven on earth, what paradise is really looking like on a chart for everyone to kind of understand. Why are we in this bliss, this serenity, this reverence, and understanding? Why do we have all this forgiveness and optimism, and also the visionary thing? I'm an idealist too, and we are very powerful with envisioning what we want for our life and creating it. And when you mentioned the law of correspondence, right? Whatever is within, then that is your inner reality, is your external reality. And that was something that my galactic family also reminded me of because I communicate with them too. And hearing you the whole time, I was smiling and just beaming and holding on to every single word that you were talking about. And yesterday, I had a really special cathartic experience where, like how you were saying, we have to really transmute our inner darkness, internal darkness to light. And a past version of myself came up and she's like, I'm ready to be transmuted to light. And I sat down on the earth and I said, okay, let's do this thing. And, a higher version of myself is ready to integrate and come in, but she needs that space. And so I need to, give that space for her. She needs all of my body. She needs all of it. So I need to get rid of that little piece. Um, and the earth helped me transmute, and also my ancestors too. And I cried, I felt it. It was incredible. And the sun was peeking in above the tree branches, and whenever the sun is pointing and beaming at me, we get in alignment in the axis. And I saw a black cardinal, like my ancestors helped me. And then I saw a little black ant right on my index finger. It was like smaller than a grain of salt, just on me. And I'm like, I am that little ant. I really am a little granule of sand in this universe. And I put it on the grass, and I'm like, okay. And this has happened so many times. I lost count of how many times I've died and transformed and rebirth. And like you said, we're going to keep doing this forever. The more and more we meet these people that shed light on our hidden dark parts of us, we're able to transform more into our power, into our true core essence, so that we could expand and sustain, and our heart center grows bigger and bigger. And I felt all that with you, especially since you're a reflector. I'm like, oh wow. And it's just beautiful. And I just see how beautiful you are. You're just you're just beaming, and I'm just feeling that. And I'm full of love, and I'm grateful, and I'm emotional because I love to be. I love to feel so deeply. I love to connect so deeply. And so I just want to honor you and cherish you and bow down to you and just tell you that I love you, and that I'm just so honored and so proud, um, that you could share your journey with me and with everyone.
Thank you so much. I felt emotions there. Tears came to my eyes, and I had goosebumps as well when you were sharing how you allowed your next level version of self come in whilst transmuting the old level version. And I feel like I need to do that. I'm at that stage, and it's really beautiful for me because emotions. I've felt very alone throughout the majority of my journey, and I'm finally at a place where tribe is here, and you're a
Mm-hmm.
reflection of that. And it's really beautiful. Finally, people feeling the resonance of this movement and this mission and what we're all creating together. Because I was talking about this in 2023, and then I went off kilter, should we say, because I allowed other people's frequencies to affect me, which was really beautiful for my journey. And now I'm back, and you've invited me here, and I'm so grateful that you invited me here because you're such a beautiful reflection of the direction that I'm going because of this work that we continue to do together in coming back to our heart. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you so much. And I have so much love for you as well. And also for the listeners too. Thank you so much for being here and doing this work with us as well.